I lost my job and home after false accusations. My family chose my brother's lie over my evidence. A court finally set the record straight. When I was wrongly charged, my brother launched a smear campaign to put me in jail. My parents hailed him as a hero for safeguarding the victims. I made them regret it. They are now imploring me. Sup, Reddit. My brother attempted to bury me after I was wrongly accused, shouting rot in prison. My parents disowned me and labeled me a predator. I am a 41-year-old male who owns an electrical contracting business and teaches basic electrical safety courses twice a week at Riverside Community College. Not exactly glamorous, but I make six figures when commercial deals come in, and the teaching job keeps my skills sharp. Additionally, the college pays $85 per hour for 2 3.5-hour sessions. Easy money. The horror began on a Tuesday, when Dean Whitaker, the department head, summoned me to his office following my morning session. I assumed it was about the new curriculum they intended to implement for the fall semester. Perhaps a wage increase, something reasonable. Dean Whitaker was sitting there, with Dr. Miranda Pierce, the student services director, and a college attorney whose name I couldn't remember because I was too busy reading the room. The mood was funeral home incorrect. Too many serious expressions for a scheduling talk. Jack Sullivan. Thank you for coming in. 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 Dean Whitaker held his hands together as if he were going to deliver awful news regarding a grave prognosis. We need to talk about certain charges made about your behavior at last month's Skills USA competition. My brain immediately went on red alert. What are the allegations? 2 students have filed separate allegations alleging unwanted physical contact happened over the tournament weekend in Sacramento. Given the gravity of these allegations, we are placing you on immediate administrative leave pending a thorough investigation. I stared at him as if he had grown a second head. What competition? The Skills USA Regionals will be placed in Sacramento from April 18th to 20th. I wasn't at the competition. Dr. Miranda Pierce leaned forward, using a professional counselor voice that made my teeth hurt. Jack, I realize how shocking this is to hear. These situations are always tough, but the most essential thing is that we prioritize student safety and adhere to established standards. I wasn't at the tournament. So, I repeated slowly this time. I was working on a 3-phase installation at the new medical center in downtown. I can get the permits, inspection reports, and everything. Dean Whitaker's expression did not change. We will go over all documentation as part of the investigation. However, given the frequency of the reports and the gravity of the charges, we believe immediate suspension is the right response. Which reports are consistent? I was not there. I did not go to Sacramento. I was 62 miles away, running a conduit through a hospital, with surveillance cameras on each floor. Dean Whitaker finally stated, "Your name is on the trip roster." As if that was checkmate. I informed him that the roster was incorrect and offered to provide proof that I had been on a job site all weekend. Nobody pretended to care. The attorney eventually spoke out. Some people repeated corporate rubbish about liabilities and proper procedure. We need you to gather your materials and leave school today. Someone from Human Resources will contact you to discuss next steps. That's when I understood. They'd already determined that evidence was merely a nuisance that may complicate their neat little story. Can I at least know what I've been accused of? Dr. Miranda Pierce explained that student privacy rules prevent us from providing details without signed permissions. However, the severity of the claims requires prompt action. I wanted to pull out my phone and show them the work orders, signed inspection documents, and time-stamped photos I'd taken of the installation for the project file. But the fact that they were all sitting there together in this unified wall of bureaucratic certainty told me it didn't matter. They had selected their story. I was just the impediment. I cleared my desk in 15 minutes, grabbing my tools, a couple of reference books, and some flash drives containing teaching materials. The entire time, I was thinking about April 18th. I remember that weekend vividly since my hospital work had been a nightmare. Work on the critical corridor, with inspections anticipated for Tuesday a.m. I'd been on location since 6:30 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was in charge of a team of 5 workers while also running the rough on the surgical wing. My back was killing me by Sunday night. I went home and spent an hour soaking in a hot bath. I had permits requiring my signature, inspection reports, progress images, and daily logs. 5 electricians who had worked with me all weekend. Over the course of 3 days, my phone probably pinged 180 times off the hospital cell tower. 8 minutes of record checking would have resolved this issue immediately. They did not wish to check. I called my parents from the truck. My father responded on the second ring. They're accusing me of something that is physically impossible. I explained. No build-up. No drama. 2 pupils allege I did something at a tournament I didn't attend. They suspended me. My mother went on speaker. Her speech had the sharpness that comes with seeing an opportunity. What exactly do they claim happened? They won't give me information, but they stated it happened at the Skills USA tournament in Sacramento. I worked the hospital job all weekend. There was a pause. Then, my father. Do you have proof? Permits, inspection documentation, construction crew witnesses, and site images have all been signed. Then we'll handle this, he said, his tone calculating rather than reassuring. Come by the home tonight. We need to talk about strategy. That night, I retrieved every piece of material I had. Permits with my signature as the license holder on site, inspection reports from 3 separate walkthroughs that weekend, hospital security badge logs showing entry and exit times, crew statements, progress photos with timestamps, everything organized, chronological, and airtight proof that demonstrated physical impossibility rather than mere innocence. I wasn't in Sacramento. I was 62 miles away on a job site that left a paper trail that any first-year law student could verify in 8 minutes. I sent it all to Dean Whitaker at 11:30 p.m. with the subject line, Documentation April 18th to 20th hospital job, and he never responded. My brother Evan Cole called me at 9:15 a.m. on Friday. I was still half asleep, but we grew up in the same house and shared the same surname, so I figured blood would count for something. Then, I remembered Evan Cole, who had always needed to be the better son. When I started my business at 28 and bought my first house at 31, he spent Thanksgiving dinner explaining to everyone how real careers required advanced degrees. When I paid off my truck in cash, he made a comment about how blue-collar money didn't build generational wealth. Our parents had always preferred his corporate path over my trade work, state MBA, nonprofit job title, and community leadership nonsense. He'd been posting ally content on social media for 2 years, mostly performative threads about accountability and believing survivors. Evan, thank God. Did you hear what's happening? The college is trying to I can't talk to you right now. His voice was cold and professional. I'm meeting with the college administration this afternoon. His career had stalled after being passed over for director twice. I just didn't know I'd become that cause. I wanted you to know that Lauren Cole and I are taking this very seriously. Taking what? Seriously? I wasn't even at the competition. I have documentation proving I was on a job site the entire weekend. Permits, inspections, crew statements. I have to go. He hung up. I tried calling back. Blocked. I tried texting. Blocked. I sat there in my truck, staring at my phone, thinking maybe I misheard. Evan Cole had sent a private message to my parents, aunt, and a couple of cousins, which Uncle Rob Hayes forwarded to me. Perhaps he needed time to process, or maybe the college had fed him some nonsense that made him cautious. The warning shot came 5 hours later, when Evan Cole posted a message that felt like being stabbed in the chest. He used professional language to discuss serious allegations and support the investigative process, and he stated that he couldn't, in good conscience, maintain contact until the facts were established. After meeting with college officials and carefully reviewing the information they provided, Lauren Cole and I believe the students who have come forward. We will not be maintaining contact with Jack Sullivan, and we strongly urge the family to prioritize the safety and well-being of the young people involved in this situation. I read it 4 times, trying to make the words say something different. My mom responded first. "We support you both. This is heartbreaking but necessary." My dad agreed. "Some things are more important than family loyalty. You're a hero for standing up for the victims." My cousin Olivia Hayes. "Wait. What? Has anyone talked to Jack Sullivan?" My uncle Robert Rob Hayes. "This is insane. You're condemning him without hearing his side." I started typing a response. Deleted it. Started again. Deleted it. What was I supposed to say? That I wasn't there? I'd already told Evan Cole that he hadn't cared enough to look at the evidence before declaring me guilty in front of everyone we knew. I tried calling my father. I tried calling my mother, but she sounded like she was reading from a script. Evan Cole has shown us the college's concerns, and we believe the best course of action is to take a step back and let the investigation proceed without interference from family. I was on a job site 62 miles away with 5 witnesses and a stack of inspection documents, and I'm trying to show you evidence that I wasn't even there. We're not investigators, and we're not qualified to evaluate evidence. What we can do is support the process and make victims feel comfortable coming forward. We love you, but we need to think about the broader implications of what? Destroying an innocent person because it's easier than checking basic facts? She sighed, as if I was being difficult. "We'll talk when you've calmed down." She hung up. Evan Cole had posted something on social media by Thursday night. My uncle Robert Rob Hayes screenshotted it and sent it to me before my mom made him delete his number from the family contacts. It's a long manifesto about believing survivors even if it costs you relationships, about how true accountability requires sacrifice, and about choosing what's right over what's easy. It received 420 likes in 2 hours. After 5 years of teaching there, I received a termination letter from the college on Friday morning. The letter used corporate language about maintaining safe learning environments and making difficult decisions in the interest of student welfare, and no one asked if he had verified any of the facts. I helped design their entire electrical safety curriculum. Had a 98% student approval rating. And never had a single complaint until 2 kids who'd never been in my class suddenly remembered I'd molested them at an event I hadn't attended. They fired me in 3 paragraphs. And my landlord sent me an eviction notice the next Wednesday. After being falsely accused of being a predator, my commercial account began pulling contracts, as word spreads quickly in the construction industry, and no one wants to be associated with that kind of liability. I was given 45 days to vacate, and there appears to be a morality clause buried in the lease about conduct that harms the property's reputation. In a single week, 3 jobs worth $165,000 in billings vanished. The general contractors who had been calling me for bids suddenly had scheduling conflicts. The supply house that had given me net 30 terms for 7 years switched me to cash only. My accountant sent a polite email suggesting we reassess our professional relationship, and friends stopped responding. People I'd known since high school abandoned me. My gym membership was mysteriously canceled, and the guy who ran the coffee shop near my apartment, where I'd been getting the same breakfast sandwich for 4 years, suddenly couldn't make eye contact with me when I walked in. I stopped going and kept messaging Evan Cole. When he blocked everything else, I tried email and sent him the entire evidence folder with every timestamp, photo, and piece of documentation proving I'd been on site that weekend, with the subject line, "Just please look at this. Delivery confirmed." Never opened. He decided I was guilty and the evidence was just noise, so I stopped explaining on day 14. I didn't return to my parents' house because I realized something while sitting in my empty apartment, surrounded by boxes I couldn't afford to move. No one who'd already chosen sides was going to look at proof. They wanted a villain, and I'd been perfectly cast. That door was welded shut, so I moved my belongings into a storage unit and slept on a folding bed in my friend Tyler Bennett's basement. I paid him in cash and rewired his panel, which appeared to have been installed during the Nixon administration. I spent the weekend organizing everything: permits, inspections, badge logs with exact timestamps, progress photos, and witness statements from the crew. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. I wasn't in Sacramento. I was on a job site 62 miles away, doing work that left a comprehensive paper trail. On Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Not a big firm. I couldn't afford it. But my uncle Rob Hayes knew someone who owed him a favor. A civil rights attorney in his mid-30s who did Title IX work and had a reputation for eating college administrators alive. When I arrived at the diner, she was already on her third coffee. "Walk me through it," she said, pulling out a legal pad. I did. The entire thing, the accusation, the suspension, the family implosion, Evan Cole's social media crusade, everything. She spent 25 minutes going through my evidence, and when she finally looked up, her expression was predatory. "This is bulletproof. You weren't there." "I know. So why the heck are they still pushing this?" "Because admitting they were wrong means admitting they railroaded an innocent guy. The college, the administrators, my brother, they all went public quickly and loudly, and walking it back now makes them appear incompetent or malicious. It's easier to keep insisting I'm guilty and hoping I slink away quietly." She nodded slowly. "Here's what you need to know. You have strong claims for defamation, tortious interference, and possibly Title IX violations. Your brother made specific, false, damaging statements that cost you income and housing. The college violated basic due process. And things will get ugly. It will take time and cost them more than they're willing to pay, but I'm not going anywhere. Here's how we play it. We don't engage in public. We preserve evidence, file the necessary complaints, and let them keep digging their hole deeper. Every time your brother posts, we screenshot it, and every time the college refuses to look at your evidence, we document it." "What about Evan Cole?" "What about him? He's out there calling me a predator. He's coaching the families, and he's let him. Every post he makes, every statement he helps craft, every time he doubles down without checking basic facts, it becomes evidence. The more certain he acts, the worse he looks when we show he never verified anything. He's building your case for you." I liked her right away, and we spent the next hour going over the next steps. Before I left, she gave me one more piece of advice: send preservation letters to the college and Dr. Miranda Pierce, informing them that they must preserve all documents, emails, and records related to this case. I sent preservation letters that afternoon, filed complaints with the State Accreditation Board and the Department of Education, and began drafting the defamation lawsuit against Evan Cole. There was nothing dramatic or public about it, just bureaucratic machinery in motion. Evan Cole kept posting long threads about believing victims, how dangerous it was when families protected predators, about choosing moral courage over familial obligation. And the whole thing boiled down to convicting him first and then asking questions. Each post was screenshotted, logged, and added to the file. He wasn't even subtle about it. The police began their investigation 4 months ago. They checked the competition records, the chaperone list, the lodging logs, the transportation logs, and nothing. Then they looked at the hospital job, where they discovered my permits, inspection reports, badge logs, and 5 electricians who swore under oath that I had been on site all weekend. The detective called me in November, and he sounded tired in that way cops do when they realize they've wasted months on nonsense. "We've finished our investigation, and I want you to know that we found no evidence linking you to Sacramento that weekend. Your alibi is solid, and we're closing this case with no criminal charges." "What about the accusations?" Long pause. "We're reviewing how those allegations were documented, and who was involved in that process. That's all I can say." He hung up. I called my lawyer, who wasn't surprised. "Perfect. Now we go after them." She'd been busy while I stayed quiet, filing discovery requests, and serving subpoenas on the college, Dr. Miranda Pierce, and Evan Cole. The college fought it, claiming student privacy, institutional privilege, and confidentiality protections. She tore through every objection like tissue paper, but first came the stonewalling. HR began ghosting, and the college's legal team sent form letters. "We cannot comment on ongoing personnel matters." When my lawyer requested the hospital security badge logs, they claimed technical issues made the data unavailable. In December, the college's lawyer contacted me with a settlement offer of $65,000 for mutual non-disclosure and no admission of wrongdoing. The email had that desperate corporate smell to it, and my lawyer forwarded it to me with one word: laughable. She responded with our own offer. Full reinstatement, a public apology, $325,000, and the termination of Dr. Miranda Pierce, or we go to trial and expose every procedural failure in discovery. They went silent for 3 weeks. Then a reporter from the local paper began asking questions. The college's public relations office began putting out fires, and board members became concerned. Dr. Miranda Pierce had forwarded the Sacramento trip roster, which was a recycled template from the previous year, and my name was still on it. Donors began calling, and those unavailable hospital badge logs appeared with perfect timestamps. External pressure had forced them to face reality. Haley Morgan, an 8-year-old welding student, and Brianna Carter, a 7-year-old HVAC student, were the accusers. Dr. Miranda Pierce and the students' parents exchanged text messages about assisting them in organizing their memories. And there were multiple drafts of student statements with significant edits and additions that clearly did not originate from teenagers. During what was supposed to be a routine feedback session about the event, Dr. Miranda Pierce approached both of them after they had attended the Sacramento competition. Their initial statements had been vague, confused, and uncertain, but one email from Dr. Miranda Pierce to Haley Morgan's mother caught their attention. I know she's having trouble remembering specifics, but sometimes trauma makes memories fuzzy. Let's try the timeline exercise we discussed. Walking through the weekend hour by hour can help things surface. Another to Brianna Carter's father. I believe we have enough consistency now to move forward confidently, and the statements align well. There were more pages of it, with Dr. Miranda Pierce guiding, suggesting, and shaping every detail until the stories locked into place. However, the most damning evidence came from Evan Cole's own digital trail, which he documented because he was so convinced he was the hero. A communication to Haley Morgan's mother said, "I understand your daughter is having second thoughts. However, backing out now gives the message that if you put enough pressure on victims, they will give in. We need to demonstrate strength here." Another, "Don't let them fixate on timeframes and alibis. That's just a distraction tactic used by predators. What matters is the trauma, not the practicalities." He had kept everything. My lawyer scheduled depositions for February, and Evan Cole was the first to appear. The conference room smelled of old coffee and desperation, and he had prioritized his crusade over basic fact-checking at every opportunity. Evan Cole sat across from me for the first time in 9 months. He looked terrible, with dark circles under his eyes. His lawyer was some underpaid associate who kept checking his watch as if he had somewhere better to be. My lawyer looked like a shark that had just spotted blood in the water. She began softly, asking about his relationship with me, his work, and community advocacy. In late April, the college contacted me and asked if I would meet with them to discuss a serious situation. During that meeting, they informed me that 2 students had reported inappropriate contact during a competition weekend, but they did not provide specific details about what allegedly occurred. They said privacy laws prevented them from sharing details without parental consent. Did they tell you which competition? The Skills USA Regionals in Sacramento, April 18th through 20th. Did you confirm Jack Sullivan's attendance at any point during or after that meeting? Pause. Evan Cole looked at his lawyer, who nodded slightly. No, you didn't check the attendance records, didn't verify the chaperone list, didn't ask the college to confirm Jack Sullivan's presence? No. My lawyer let that sit for a moment. Jack Sullivan reached out to you after the accusation was made. Correct. Yes. And what did he tell you? He said he wasn't at the competition, and that he had proof he was working a job that weekend. What did you do with that information? I told him I couldn't discuss it with him, and ended the call. Did you ask to see the proof? No. He sent you documentation, permits, inspection reports, witness statements, and emails. I didn't open them. Why not? Evan Cole's jaw tightened. I'd already made my decision based on the information the college provided, and looking at his defense felt like it would jeopardize my ability to support the victims. Support the victims? My lawyer flatly repeated, even if the alleged victim wasn't actually victimized by your brother. I thought the allegations were credible, but you didn't verify them. My lawyer let it hang there. The court reporter's fingers stopped. Evan Cole's lawyer shifted in his seat. and the whole room could feel the weight of that admission settling like cement. You posted about this case on social media several times, correct? My lawyer slid a printed screenshot across the table. This is a message from you to Haley Morgan's mother. You made a public statement declaring your belief in the accusations and your decision to cut contact with Jack Sullivan. You also assisted the families involved in organizing their statements. You wrote, and I quote, "Don't let them concentrate on timelines and alibis. That's just a distraction tactic that predators use." Do you remember writing that? Evan Cole stared at the paper. Yes. Were you aware that timelines might actually matter if, for example, the accused person wasn't present at the event in question? I thought you didn't think verification was important. I believe that protecting the students was more important than getting caught up in technicalities, such as whether your brother was actually present. His lawyer objected, but my lawyer withdrew the question and continued. You also messaged Haley Morgan's mother, encouraging her not to let Haley Morgan walk anything back, even after the student expressed doubts about her memory. Is that correct? I was trying to prevent her from being pressured into silence. Or were you trying to prevent her from telling the truth when it became inconvenient for your narrative? Objection withdrawn. Let's talk about your testimony to the college board. You gave public comments, correct? Yes. And you stated that Jack Sullivan was guilty and that the family should support the accusers over him. I stated that I believed the students and that accountability was necessary. I didn't know that at the time. You could have known. But you chose not to. Correct. Evan Cole didn't answer. My lawyer leaned forward. Evan Cole. Did it ever occur to you that by publicly declaring your brother guilty, by assisting families in crafting consistent statements, by encouraging them to ignore doubts and stay committed, that I've seen how often they are silenced and dismissed, and I didn't want to be a part of that system. Instead, you became a part of a system that destroys innocent people without checking basic facts. My lawyer walked him through every message, post, and statement he helped shape, and made him explain each decision, assumption, and moment he chose certainty over verification. The deposition lasted 5 more hours. Evan Cole's hands were slightly trembling by the end of the deposition, which ended at 8 p.m., and his lawyer pulled my lawyer aside in the hallway. If he could go back in time to April, what would he have done differently? I watched through the glass as they talked. The lawyer kept shaking his head. My lawyer's expression remained neutral. When she returned, she had that look lawyers get when they know they've already won. He's going to settle, she said. He has to. His own words buried him. Everything fell apart at the college board meeting on a Wednesday in April. My uncle Rob Hayes, my cousin Olivia Hayes, and a few friends who had stayed were there, despite the fact that I had asked them not to attend. The room was packed with parents, faculty, a few reporters, local activists who had been supporting Evan Cole, and some family members I hadn't seen in months. But Rob had said, "We are seeing you be vindicated. We're not missing it." My parents sat in the back corner. My mom had that tight smile she wears when things aren't going her way, and my dad looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Evan Cole was absent. His lawyer had probably told him to stay away. The interim college president, brought in from the district office after the scandal broke, and Dean Whitaker resigned, opened with a prepared statement about transparency and institutional responsibility. The room went silent. After an extensive review of the allegations made against Jack Sullivan, including examination of work permits, inspection reports, security logs, and witness testimony, this board finds no factual basis connecting Jack Sullivan to the alleged incident. Jack Sullivan was not present in Sacramento during the disputed weekend. Our investigation revealed significant procedural flaws in how the initial accusations were handled, and students were interviewed without following proper protocols. He was, in fact, performing licensed electrical work on a commercial job site in this city, as confirmed by multiple witnesses. Murmurs echoed throughout the room. Jack Sullivan has filed civil claims against this institution. Dr. Miranda Pierce, and his brother Evan Cole for defamation and related allegations. Statements were edited and refined by college personnel in ways that jeopardized their credibility, and numerous administrative decisions were made without verification of basic facts. While we cannot comment on ongoing litigation, the college wishes to acknowledge that Jack Sullivan was wrongfully terminated and that his professional reputation was harmed by institutional failures on our part. Someone in the audience shouted something. A reporter stood up. The president gave for order. "We are prepared to offer Jack Sullivan a settlement in the amount of." My lawyer leaned over and whispered, "Don't accept it. We are going to trial on the defamation accusations. Make an example." I nodded. Evan Cole's case went to trial in June. Civil court, not criminal court, money and reputations, not handcuffs. His lawyer tried everything, claiming good faith reliance on the college's investigation, that his posts were protected opinion, that he was attempting to support victims, and that he had no legal obligation to verify facts. My lawyer demolished him. She brought the jury through every piece of information Evan Cole had disregarded. Every message, encouraging families to ignore misgivings. And every public proclamation of guilt without confirming if I'd even been in the same place. "This isn't about trusting victims," she said in the end. "It's about what happens when belief becomes a weapon." Evan Cole didn't just fail to verify facts. He actively avoided them because they were inconvenient. He helped manufacture consistency in statements that were falling apart. He pressured families to ignore their children's doubts. And he did all of this in public, loudly, and with absolute certainty. In a 3-hour trial, the jury found Evan Cole liable for $175,000 in damages for lost income, reputational harm, and emotional distress, despite the fact that he was 62 miles away on a commercial job site at the time of the alleged crime. When the verdict was read, Evan Cole's lawyer attempted to respond. "My landlord, every vendor who'd pulled contracts, the college department mailing list, and the local contracting association all received official letters stating that the allegations were false and that the college had settled for $310,000. A public apology, and an agreement to reform their investigation procedures. My lawyer called it reputational remediation. I called it watching them eat crow in writing. My old landlord called me 2 days later, apologized, and offered to be a reference. 3 vendors who dropped me contacted me about new contracts. And the department chair who had overseen my termination had to personally sign every letter. They also paid settlements to the families whose children had been used as props in Dr. Miranda Pierce's crusade. I don't hate Haley Morgan or Breonna Carter. They were 18 and 17 years old at the time, and they were just kids who were duped into doing something they didn't understand by adults who should have known better. Dr. Miranda Pierce manipulated them, and Evan Cole reinforced it. Dr. Miranda Pierce's license was revoked 4 months later after the state board discovered that she had coached students, fabricated evidence, and violated approximately 18 professional standards. The girls were confused, pressured, and surrounded by authority figures telling them what to remember. I blame the adults who used them. I used the settlement money to buy my own building, a 4,500 square foot shop with office space and room for equipment, and rehired my old crew. I didn't move to a new city to start over. Instead, I rebuilt right here in front of everyone. I began bidding on commercial jobs that had dropped me. In August, my parents attempted to reconcile, and when I arrived at the shop unannounced to run conduit for a restaurant renovation, I saw my father's car pull into the lot and knew what was going to happen. It turns out that a $4 million settlement and a court judgment in your favor is pretty good advertising. Within 6 months, I was busier than before the nightmare began. My father began. We thought it was important to clear the air and discuss. Get out of my shop. My mother tried her soft voice, the one she uses when she wants something but needs to appear reasonable. Jack, sweetheart, we were just trying to do what we thought was right at the time. We didn't have all of the facts. You had the material, which I supplied to you, but you decided not to look at it because Evan Cole urged you not to. That's not fair, my father remarked. We were in an impossible situation. The family was divided. Emotions were high. Emotions were high because you let Evan Cole declare me guilty without verifying a single truth, and you supported his actions since he's always been your golden kid. And I've always been the disappointment who works with his hands instead of pushing paper in some corporate office. My mom's eyes welled up. We never said that. You didn't have to. You showed it when it mattered. I returned to work. They stood there for another minute, then left. I haven't heard from them since. The family fracture has never healed. Evan Cole tried to rebuild his advocacy career, but the court judgment followed him everywhere, and he was fired from his nonprofit job 4 months after the verdict. Uncle Robert, Rob Hayes, and cousin Olivia Hayes remained in contact, but everyone else either chose Evan Cole's side or went silent, which was fine with me. Blood doesn't mean anything when those who share it throw you under the bus the first chance they get. Last I heard, he was working at some insurance company doing grunt work for $48,000 a year. His wife, Lauren Cole, left him in September, taking the house, the car, and the dignity he had left. I didn't celebrate, and I didn't feel good watching him crater, but I also didn't feel bad. The real satisfaction came from watching everyone who'd been so certain, so righteous, so convinced they were on the right side of history. It was a cold Saturday in November, nearly 20 months after the accusation, when Evan Cole finally showed up. I was closing up the shop around 6 p.m. when his truck pulled into the lot, and I recognized it right away. The beat-up Ford he'd been driving since college. He waited in the cab for a solid 5 minutes before getting out. And I started loading tools into my service van as if I hadn't noticed him. He approached up slowly, stopping about 8 feet away, and said, "Jack." I completed loading the drill kit before glancing up. "What do you want?" He looked worse in person than I'd anticipated. I wanted to talk about what? About everything. About what happened. About he stopped. I messed up. I know that now. I shut the van door and leaned against it. You drove an hour to tell me you messed up. That's your big revelation. I'm trying to apologize. You're trying to make yourself feel better. His jaw tightened. I was wrong about everything. I should have listened to you. I should have looked at your evidence. I should have checked to see if I was actually there before declaring myself a predator to the entire family. And I should have verified a single fact before advising families to ignore their children's doubts. Evan Cole, you didn't just make a mistake. You chose to believe I was guilty because it made you feel good, because it allowed you to be the hero, because verifying facts was difficult, and believing in your own righteousness was simple. He didn't respond, and I pushed off the van. I was trying to help. You were trying to feel important, and when the evidence didn't fit your narrative, you just ignored it. I thought I was doing the right thing. But you thought you were the right person. You've spent your entire life trying to be better than me, smarter, more successful, and more important. When those students made their accusation, you saw your chance, finally, proof that you were the good brother and I was the screw-up you always believed I was. His hands were shaking, but you didn't verify my presence because you didn't want to. You wanted me to be guilty because it fit the story you'd been telling yourself since we were kids. The silence stretched between us like razor wire. I lost everything. He finally said. My job, my marriage, my reputation. I know that doesn't fix what I did to you, but nothing. You didn't lose those things because of what I did. You lost them because you prioritized your crusade over basic facts, and when the truth came out, everyone saw exactly who you were. I'm trying to make this right. You can't. Some things can't be fixed with a 20-month late apology. You destroyed my life because it was convenient for you. You made my parents believe I was a predator to make you look better in comparison. And you helped coach families to ignore evidence because you couldn't handle being wrong. I walked past him toward my truck. Jack? Wait. I stopped but didn't turn around. You want forgiveness? You want closure? You want me to tell you it's okay and we can rebuild our relationship? I want to try. Then try this. Live with what you did. Live with the fact that you destroyed your brother over allegations you never verified. Live with the knowledge that when it mattered most, you chose your ego over the truth. Live with the knowledge that every person who praised you for being brave was praising you for being certain about something you never bothered to check. Don't call me again. Don't show up at my shop. Don't send letters, emails, or messages through family members. We're finished. I got in my truck and started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see him standing there in the parking lot, shoulders slumped, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His hands were in his pockets. His head was down. He looked like a man who had finally realized what he'd done and realized there was no turning back. I drove away without looking back. If you loved this video, please subscribe to the channel so that we can bring you more and better tales. Thank you.